Hi, I'm Martin Dove, and I'm going to spend the next 10 to 15 minutes telling you a bit about the history of the merchant's business. Telling a story like this is always quite difficult. It's a bit like trying to tell someone about a party that they weren't at. So you have a sense of experience and the emotions that it's very difficult to convey, but I'm going to do my very best to paint the picture of where this business has come from. So the story starts back in Bristol in the UK in 1981 when a bunch of friends got together and decided they wanted to start a new company. Now, most companies tend to start like that. The Dimension Data Group started in a very similar way with a bunch of friends who had been at school together. They'd gone off to varsity, some of them had been at varsity together, and they decided to create something. And that's exactly how the merchant's business started. So this bunch of friends decided that they would create a telemarketing business, which was a very pioneering thing to do in 1981 in the UK. So they started this business, and they actually initially didn't call it merchants, it was called programs. And programs started, as I said, with half a dozen people, with no technology, with some borrowed office space, and started in a very, very entrepreneurial way. And the spirit of the business has really continued throughout the last 32, 33 years that the business has been going. But it's gone through a number of different iterations and has evolved to be the business that it is today. I joined the business in 1986 when it was just 5 years old, and there was about 100, 120 people working for programs at that point. And I was 18. I moved to London. I grew up in a small, sleepy market town in England and moved to London to seek my fortune. And it's bizarre thinking back that this company that I joined was based in this leafy suburb of North London. It was based in an old tea factory that had been converted, a tea warehouse that had been converted into office space. And it was a very bright, very energetic environment. Very buzzy, and I remember the first day that I went for my interview, walking into what at the time was called the phone room, because the term call centre or contact centre actually hadn't been invented then. And I remember walking into this room and just being overwhelmed by the energy and the vibrancy of the place. So I couldn't wait to join the business, and I started on September the 2nd, 1986. I was 18 years old, and my first job was as a phoner. So the term agent or advisor or representative hadn't even been thought of in those days, and the job title described what you did. So I phoned people, so therefore I was a phoner, and my manager was a phoner manager because they managed phoners. So when I joined the business, we basically did three things. It was all outbound telemarketing work. We did direct sales, we did appointment setting, and we did research, market research. And when you joined the business, you were allocated into one of those three functions based on your natural tendency towards one of those three areas. And I was put in the direct sales team, and my first job was selling pregnancy testing kits. And I can still remember the script to this day, selling Clear Blue One Step to pharmacies. So basically what I did was I had a pile of leads, so there was no technology, I had no computer on my desk, I had a rotary phone without even a headset. So I used to have to sit for 8 hours a day holding my phone. And my first job, as I said, was calling pharmacies to sell them pregnancy testing kits. I then did a number of other things. I sold teddy bears to toy shops. We did a complete wide variety of different projects. And that was how the business started, doing outbound telemarketing. There was very little inbound work at the time, and programs eventually became the largest private telemarketing business in the UK. About the time that I joined the business, we also started two other divisions, one of which was a training business, because our clients were saying to us, we love the way that you do things and we love the way in which your phoners direct sell, appointment set and do research, but we'd like you to come and train our people. So we set up a training business, and we also set up a consultancy business to help organisations design their phone room and early contact centre and call centre environments. Then in around 1988, the company started to change and morph and evolve. The first significant change was actually moving from northwest London, from this leafy suburb and quite an expensive residential area, to a town called Corby in Northamptonshire. And Corby was an old steel town where the steel works had closed down, and the local council was desperately trying to regenerate and create opportunities and jobs in the area. So they put together an incentive scheme to attract new businesses into the area. So we'd set up the operations in Corby. We then set up some operations in Wigan, which is a town between Liverpool and Manchester. It was very exciting times, lots of growth, lots of expansion. We were starting to do more and more inbound activity. Around the same time, the programs business set up operations in Rome and in Paris, and some of us were very lucky to get the chance to go and spend some time in those glamorous locations as opposed to just being in Corby and Wigan, which didn't quite have so much glamour. So it was around this time that the name of the business changed. We renamed the business Merchants and stopped referring to the organisation as Programs. And it was also a time of great geographic expansion. In the late 90s, we were setting up operations in Ireland, in Scotland. We were doing consulting work in South Africa, in Australia, in New Zealand, and in the United States. In 1997, probably the most significant event in Merchants history happened, which was the time that Dimension Data acquired the Merchants business. This was such an important moment in the history of the business because it suddenly meant that Merchants was going from being a relatively small private business to being part of an organisation that was rapidly globally expanding. And it gave Merchants the opportunity to really springboard. It was at this time that I was actually working in the Merchants business in New Zealand. And I then left New Zealand, spent a bit of time in Australia, and then moved to South Africa. I was very fortunate. I spent 3 years working in Cape Town, establishing the business, the Merchants business here in South Africa. And then in 1999, Merchants set up its first outsourced operations in South Africa. It was actually in Sandton. So we felt like we'd kind of gone full circle and we're setting up an outsourced operation in a leafy suburbs of an expensive part of town. But it was a very exciting time, and we started working with the likes of Telkom, with South African Airways, and some other big blue chip clients in South Africa, really at the starting point of the contact center industry here in South Africa. I'm now going to fast track to 2003, another really significant milestone in the history of the Merchants business. We won the first major outsourced offshore operation in South Africa with a company called AOL. Now this was a really big milestone because we were working with a US business, servicing US customers, which created all sorts of challenges in terms of the shift patterns and the hours that people had to work. But we created what was an extraordinary experience for many of the people who were involved in it. And it was, we nicknamed it Operation Swordfish. I still bump into people today in shopping malls and in offices and when I go to contact centres around South Africa, people who were involved in Operation Swordfish. And it's an incredible experience that it touched so many people's lives. We had to employ 850 people over about a 4 or 5 month period, which was one of the most intensive working periods of my life, but was such an extraordinary experience for everyone that was involved. And very quickly off the back of winning the AOL contract, we started rapidly to grow and develop our domestic business. In 2004 we started working with Vodacom, which is a relationship that we still have today. 10 years on, Vodacom has been our longest tenure operation. We helped them over one of their Christmas peak periods, set up an operation in incredibly short time frames, and have been working with them ever since. In 2005, another really important milestone in the history of our business, we won our first UK offshoring contract with Asda, again an organisation that's still a client today. We've been working with them for 8-9 years now, delivering and supporting all of their home shopping operations, and we've expanded from an initial team about 30 or 40 people that were based in a corner of the Dimension Data offices in Cape Town to a position where we've just moved into incredible new offices in Cape Town, and we're employing about 600 people working in the Asda operation. And there are so many of these stories of how from small acorns great oak trees have grown across our client base. We won another major deal around this time with Carphone Warehouse, another big UK company that at the time that the AOL contract was coming to an end, we were able to migrate a lot of the team of people that have been working on Swordfish onto their Carphone Warehouse contract. At the core of the Merchants business is an inherent desire and passion for creating opportunities for people. The number of jobs that we've created in South Africa over the last 10, 12 years that we've been operating here is incredible. We've created chances and opportunities for thousands and thousands of people, many of whom have come through the merchants business and are now working in other organizations. But today we have 3,500 people who are passionately engaged in delivering exceptional customer experiences for our clients. In 2008, we won another major contract for the merchants business with an Australian organisation called iiNet. And iiNet are the second largest provider of internet services in Australia. We've worked with them over the last 5 years to grow an incredible operation in Cape Town that currently employs about 450 people, but it's going to be going through more expansion over the next couple of years. Something that we've proved with iiNet, with Asda, with AOL and with Carphone Warehouse is that South Africa can compete and win on the global stage when it comes to delivering exceptional customer experiences. What makes merchants an amazing business today is the balance that we have of international and domestic clients. It's something that truly differentiates us from our competition. If you look at the other outsourced BPO providers in the South African market, they're either very much focused on the domestic market or very much focused on the international market. And what we have across our client base is a really strong balance of that domestic and international work. If I look across our domestic client base, it's an incredible roll call of South African organisations, the likes of Standard Bank, of Hollard, of TransUnion, of Cell C, of Vodacom. And we've recently added some really exciting new clients to our roster. Mercedes-Benz, the Avios business that's recently set up in South Africa, and the new mobile bank, Time. They're all incredible organisations in their own right and have all chosen merchants to represent them when talking and engaging with their customers. And that's an incredible privilege to have that opportunity to be the organisation that engages with our clients' customers. One of the real success stories that I'd like to highlight is our relationship with South African Airways. Over the last 10, 12 years, we've worked with them extensively, both going back to the point when they were first establishing the flysaa.com website, all the way through to today, where we run all of their Voyager and all of their reservations operations. When we took over SAA's customer service operations, their reputation was not good. They in fact had a reputation for delivering very poor customer experience through their contact centres. But today we've consistently received positive, warm, encouraging feedback from SAA's customers. We get great feedback in the media, but more importantly from SAA's customers about the experience that they have of interacting with SAA's contact centres. In 2012, we added our latest international client. Everything Everywhere is the UK's largest mobile provider, and it's a merger of two very big mobile providers in the UK, Orange and T-Mobile. Winning the Everything Everywhere contract really cemented Merchant's position as South Africa's leading BPO provider, both in the international and domestic market. So hopefully I've given you a sense of the history of the Merchant's business, the journey that we've travelled, how we've evolved, and what the business has become today. I said at the beginning that when you're trying to tell a story like this, it's a bit like trying to describe a party that you weren't at. And what is it that really makes a party? It's not the location, it's not the lighting, it's not the music, it's the people. The people who are at the party is what makes a party amazing, and that's what makes the Merchants business such an incredible place to work. We have created opportunities for thousands and thousands of people, not just in South Africa but around the world. Our contribution to the communities that we work in South Africa and what we've contributed to those communities over the last 10 years is immense. It's the thing that I'm so incredibly passionate and proud of, that contribution, the difference that we make to individuals' lives, to families' lives and to communities' lives. And it's that I'm really passionate about continuing to deliver and continuing to create those opportunities for the amazing people that work within the Merchants business.